Hello, social media land. I would say one specific social media, but I'm going to start trying to post to YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. So uh, I'll be on all of those under Sage Creek Prepping or Sage Creek Prepper. And we're getting ready to kick off our January series that I was going to talk about. And quite frankly, I don't know how many weeks this is going to take, but it's called Ghost Protocols. And I'm sure there's questions about it, and this is not a thing about being a coward or being compliant. It's about staying hidden. So, with that, you know, in a world today, threats change sometimes daily, sometimes hourly, sometimes by the second. Things have really picked up the pace, though, in the last 2 months, for sure. You know, we can have natural disasters, grid failures, civil unrest, or even worse, terrorist attacks, or just the plain old run of the mill, once or twice a week, mass shootings. Okay? So we need to be prepared for all these scenarios. We really do. You never know where this is going to strike or when. It can happen in the big cities. I think that's probably most common for most of it. But look, rural communities can be struck just as easy and often are. So, with that said, I want to lay this out there also. Uh, you can't rely or trust on the federal government. Pains me to say that, but at best they're inept. And what I'm talking about is FEMA. From hurricanes in Florida, the floods in North Carolina and Tennessee a year or so ago, floods in eastern Kentucky. Look, FEMA may be a good way of organizing certain things, but they suck at getting help to people. And they're not a bit bashful about taking private donations, commandeering them, and giving them out as they please. If you don't believe me, ask one of thousands of people over in western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee that went through Helene. So, what is this really about, Ghost Protocols? Well, if resilience isn't really about stockpiling in plain sight. Ghost Protocols is not about broadcasting your readiness on any social media to your next door neighbor, to anyone except your closest friends and confidants, or maybe the ones that are coming into your community. And I'm talking about your prepper community, your community you're building, because you're going to need a community, just like Bear says, Bear Independent. You can't go long term without a community because you can't do everything. No one family has enough people in it to cover everything you need to have covered as you go through an emergency that goes longer than 30, 35, 40 days. You might do all right for a week, maybe 2 weeks as an individual, but then you're going to start to falter. Things are going to run out. You can't keep an eye on your property and cook for your food and scavenge for things you need or forage. You just can't do it all. Even you and a spouse can't do it all. So, with that said, One of the smartest ways to survive is to vanish into the background, be unseen, be untraceable until it's time to come out. So that's what I call ghost protocols. And we're going to cover this over the next several weeks. It's designed to teach you the art of low profile preparedness and then low profile living during emergency situations. It's inspired by the concept, okay, of operating off grid in a very true sense. But it's also about being disavowed, undetected, self reliant. These protocols will become a blueprint for becoming a ghost in a collapsing world. A ghost in a collapsing world. Over the coming weeks, like I say, we're going to dive into the practical, no nonsense strategies that go beyond a basic bug out bag or basic food storage. We're going to cover the foundations of ghosting. What does it look like? How do I put it in practice? We're going to talk about stockpiling, invisible stockpiling in plain sight where someone does not detect it. We're going to talk about low visibility communications and secure communications. We're also going to talk about evasion and mobility. We're going to talk about post-event ghosting, like things like barter and foraging and defense while staying off of everyone's radar, okay? And a whole lot more things. Now listen, well, I'll probably do a very deep dive into medical stuff, but listen, I'm not here to say I'm a really good authority on the medical side, but what I can do is steer you towards Bear Independent, who has got the Mac Daddy of medical training, medical supplies. Now look, his stuff is not cheap, but it's all made in the United States. It's all U.S. stuff. And he makes it, well, he does not make it himself, but he has employees that is in his community that makes all this stuff. So he's a phenomenal resource, and he's been in prepping for a good while. And I'd encourage you to watch Bear Independent on YouTube or Patreon. Just catch some of his videos. He is intense. Won't lie to you there. But we can all get intense. And, there's a lot of scenarios he talks about. One scenario he talks about is everything, everywhere, all at once. Overwhelming all systems by design. He also has a real good series of videos on post-attack on the United States, what it would look like maybe, with your people that support, people that are in a resistance. Do I know if the world's going to come down to that or not? I don't. He don't know either. But he's preparing for it. What I encourage you to do is to prepare for everything. Prepare for everything. And a good way to do it and to keep off of everybody's radar is with what I call ghost protocols. This is not about paranoia. It's about empowering you so you can survive come what may in virtually any situation. Look, chaotic times are going to come. Visible people become victims, but ghosts endure. So buckle up for week 1. It'll drop on 15 January around noontime. Until then, stay prepared and stay invisible. And this is Sage Creek Prepper saying, God bless, and we will see you on the 15th of January with episode 1 of Ghost Protocols. Good day, sir.